One God, one aim, one destiny, one love. One God, one aim, one destiny, one love.
Welcome to the Negro Voice. This is an unofficial organ of the UNIA-ACL Government of the World, brought to you by the Ministry of Information. I am the Minister of Information, Lion Blyden. I greet you in the words of peace, shalom, assalamu alaikum, alafia, hotep, and as always, race first. The Negro Voice is brought to you in part by The Rock in NYC, Oshun Designs, and cdpm.org. The name of our program, Negro Voice, comes from the combination of the Negro World newspaper from the 1920s and our current organ, the Garvey's Voice, which you can purchase on our website, uniaacl-government.com. I will post that below. Here you see our lineage of President Generals from Marcus Garvey to our 11th President General, the Honorable Michael R. Duncan. Okay, this episode is also brought to you by our special edition 24 karat gold commemorative note. You can order yours today at honoredancestors.com. Today's episode is featuring women of the UNIA, past, present, and hopefully many, many more in the future. Also, the Black Cross nurses. On today's episode, we have with us our Assistant Secretary General, Sister Crystal Jackson. Welcome, sister.
Greetings. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Also with us, we have our illustrious Lady President from Division 429 in Chicago, Lady President Georgia. Are you with us?
Race first!
Race first. How is everything with you today?
I'm doing marvelous. I'm just so excited. I'm a little on the giddy side because I'll get a little silly at times, but I'm having a good time.
No, let's do it because we gotta have fun with this. This is our history. This is our legacy, and we gotta have fun with this. We gotta make sure that people understand that Black nationalism isn't always so tough and serious and mean like you see on the screen, but we get to have fun with each other as well. But today's focus is about the warrior queens, the women of the UNIA-ACL. So we would like to welcome first, like I said, our Assistant Secretary General of the government of our glorious UNIA-ACL, Sister Crystal Jackson. Do you have any opening statements that you'd like to give us before we begin?
Sure. I just want to say that it's really incredible that you're doing this, that you're having a show that is showcasing the women of the UNIA-ACL and just women in general, because, you know, sometimes we have folks that like to cause division and debate and say that women are not represented or things of that nature. And, you know, what's important is less about what we say and what's more important is what we do, you know, and seeing the actions that people put into what they do and showcase and feature like this is the real story. This is the true story. This isn't just what I'm telling you, you know, and so it's great that you're doing it. And, you know, we definitely have the understanding that the principle of ma'at, that principle of balance, it balances the male and female principle, you know, the male and female energy. And so what happens is when the two work together, great things can be accomplished. So thank you so much for having us to have this discussion.
No problem. And again, we appreciate you being here again. Want to send a special shout out, speaking of balance, to Brother Minister of Labor and Industry, Brother Clyde Banks. Salute, sir. I see you.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
Race first.
Race first.
Okay, so allow us to begin. How shall we begin? Speaking about the illustrious women of the UNIA-ACL, let's see, we want to talk about a little bit of history, but we also want to make sure we talk about current warrior queens that are working for the uplift of our race. So let's take a look here. You see on your screen here a group of these warrior queens that we're just speaking about, some current warrior queens of the UNIA-ACL. Mother Lady President, you like to just say something about this picture here?
Oh my God, this picture gives me chills. These lovely ladies, we all met up at I believe this was the convention in Jamaica in 2018, I believe that was. And I'm looking from my left to right with Sister Amoa Khan. He's seated. Sister Amoa Khan, Sister Gwen. Oh my God, I get chills when I just say her name. She's so awesome. And then I'll mention them again because they help put the historical ladies of the UNI book together. The next lady in the white, I know her, but I don't know her name. The next one in the blue, not sure of her name. But then there's Sister Tanaya in the yellow. Awesome young lady over here in Division 401, Lady President. And of course, Sister Kamar, outstanding. She is the wife to Brother Shaka Barak. And also Sister Delali right above her. Now she's got a long title. Somebody's gonna help me with that one. And then of course,
she is our Minister of Arts and Culture.
Minister of Arts
and proprietor of Oshun Design.
Absolutely. She's wonderful. She's put together some things down there and had me to sing and do some things. In the green, I'm not sure. In the white, that's yours truly. And then coming on down all the way toward the end, next to the blue, right in the middle with the short afro, that is Sister Garnett in Chicago in Division 429. So I skipped a few ladies, but we know who they are. Oh, obviously, Sister Bashima.
This right here is, wait, here we go. Let's zoom in real quick. This is a picture of our fourth Assistant President General, Queen Basima Muhammad Bey. Salute to her. She is also the head of the Black Cross Nurses, currently warrior queen supporting the people. And here we have a special image that we talked about earlier. Can you explain this image that we're looking at here?
Oh yes, I'm proud of this card. Actually, I didn't know this existed until Brother Clyde had some copies. And one day I saw this, and I just, like a kid who have never seen themselves in print or on TV, I go, that's me! Oh! And then, of course, I got excited because it was right next to Sister Bashima's. And this was when we were celebrating the 58th International what was that? That was in 2015. It was right after we had the convention in New York. So the following year, we had the parade. The parade was pretty long. I mean, we marched for blocks and blocks. We were very proud. We had on our white, and then on the back of it, you'll see there's Brother Gay. I see Minister Atan and his brother, and I see other family members. I see that whole group that was that UABPA? Clyde Banks may correct me on that, but so it was a very proud day that we were all marching there. It was a nice, warm, hot day, I'll put it that way. But we were fired up that day. So up, you mighty race, we can accomplish what you will. That's what we were thinking and we had in our hearts as we marched that day. Ashe.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. Warrior Queens.
That was the day that we celebrated the 58th International Convention. So
Ashe.
Yeah, I want to get that on record.
Okay, so we were also when you and I spoke earlier, we spoke about the book that Mother Gwen and our Secretary General Brenda Amorkan wrote. Let me see if I can get it on the screen here. It is called The Women of the UNIA. So, do you know something about that book there?
I am so proud to have a copy of this book. And I'm even more proud of the ladies that wrote it or put it together. As you see at the bottom there, Sister Gwen Martin, who's out of Division 401. Sister Gwen Martin is just absolutely a gem. She's highly skilled educator. She assisted with the Chicago African philosophy classes. She gives all the time and still does. The orientation courses, and she continues to do that. She just a mound of information, and she puts together whenever we have like some of the larger events, especially at some of the mass meetings, she actually reads poems, or she reads minutes, and I mean, she does it with passion. And so I just love her. Then there's Sister Amoa Khan on there. She is our esteemed Secretary General of Division 401, a strong Garveyite supporter, and she's just been there for many years. She's just, I would say her knowledge is way beyond her years. That's the best how I can explain it. And Mother Myers, I cannot pass her by without giving her a big hug. She's just a beautiful elder. She's the Assistant Secretary General on the international side under Marcus Garvey Jr. So these three powerhouses got together, and one day when Sister Gwen presented this at one of the meetings, I believe Division 429 and 401 were joining together at a meeting. And when she brought this, everybody wanted one. So I suggest to get one of these, they're only $10. Just send your information to someone in Chicago and we'll get in touch with Sister Gwen and mail you one. They're awesome. It's jam-packed with women of the UNIA. Most of them, well, they're all ancestors, but some of them left us as early as the 90s or 2000s, but they go back as in the 1900s as well. I was perusing through here to look at someone that would jump out at me, that, you know, how people look and go, oh, this one. But I was just so engrossed when I went through the book, and I was just going through with a frantic kind of emotion because I didn't key in. I need to really study it more, and I promised myself I would do that. But as I went through there, I just started going through and highlighting things. But I would just name a few of them, you know, because historically, I don't think we would have known about these ladies had not this particular book been put together. So there's Jacqueline Blackburn, LaBertha Burns, and then what's next to them, they have the ladies' names that on the front that put the book together. I guess they were the ones responsible for putting that particular lady in the book. So Jacqueline Blackburn, Sister Martin, LaBertha Burns, Amoa Khan, Henrietta Benton Davis, outstanding by Martin, Madame Demina Martin, W. May Ferguson by Mother Myers, Vera Grant, Amoa Khan, Amy Ashwood Garvey, and Amy Jakes Garvey. Amoa Khan did those. Jackson Bay, that must be someone also that helped them with that one. Alma Golden, Amoa Khan, Mary Lee Grisson, Mother Myers, Estelle James, Mother Myers, Mother Effie King, Amoa Khan, Mary Mason, and Iris Lucille Patterson, both by Martin. Jean Harvey Slappy, I was just reading some of these ladies, I'll get to them in a minute. That's by Mother Myers. Ruth Smith, Martin. Nancy M. Strong by Myers. Mother Eleanor White, Amoa Khan. Mahalia Williams, Mother Myers. And so it just gets some references and everything back there from there. But I just wanted to call these ladies' names out because, like you said, these were created and put together in this book for our knowledge and for us to pass along and learn of and study. And early on, I believe we were talking about this. We mentioned maybe even possibly going forward in the future and having the children emulate these ladies in a program of such. So I would be very happy to be a part of that program. So that'll be something we'll get to.
Absolutely. Before you go on, Mother Lady President, I can't help but to notice, as you speak, there's a couple smiles and head nods going on the other video. Assistant Secretary General Crystal, was there a name that stood out to you just now that made you want to just jump in real quick before Sister Lady President continue?
Sure. So Jackson Bay, that's my uncle, William Henry Jackson Bay, and he did the essay for Amy Jacques Garvey, and so they gave him credit for it because he just did the one essay, and they put it in the book. So yeah.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Thank you for that.
Okay.
See, this is part of what we do as far as keeping the record straight and keeping the history straight. Absolutely.
Okay, no, please continue. I just noticed that. I definitely just noticed the smiles. Everything just started beaming from down in DC just now when you mentioned those names just now. Please continue, Lady President.
Well, absolutely. What I'd like to do then is just talk a little bit about myself and how I got started, and then a little bit about Division 429 before I talk about some of the ladies in here. Because when I look at these ladies on this cover, and then I think about us, the ladies that were on the picture that we put up from the UNIA, we will be these ladies someday. And so 50 years from now, 100 years from now, when people are studying about the ladies of the UNIA, I hope to be one of them. So absolutely, this is powerful and it's very moving. I joined the UNIA, I believe it was 2012. I had met Mr. Clyde Banks, President Clyde Banks of Division 429, and I began going to some of the UNIA meetings. And when I first went, I thought, okay, this is nice because, when you go to any, let's say, group or meeting or organization, you go to an organization or a place that you've never been, you meet the people and you see what the people are all about, and they're for uplifting Black people. But this was a little different. This was going back to the core, to our homeland, and to the teachings of Garvey. And then when you think about Marcus Garvey at large, when I think about students and people that are maybe not real familiar with all the history, you just have the little snippet of Marcus Garvey and and the ships, and maybe some of his quotes, but you don't get the picture and what he stood for. Then you learn about the books to read, the books that are written by Marcus Garvey, Race First. You start to get a feel of that this is more than just a group of people that are uplifting. This is a movement. It's a government. So I started to learn more and more and more as I started to attend the meetings, and then over time I just got real kind of involved. And then I said, what, I want to join, and I joined. So when I joined, there was a need for different for different tasks. So I would put it this way: they just kind of made me, threw me in, and I became the program director. So in that, my job was to, whenever we had our programs every fourth Sunday, and then we would have our business meetings, I believe, every second Sunday, then I would come in and I would just make sure everything was put together. I would make sure that everybody's comfortable, the chairs are straight, everything is nice and neat and in order. And then I would go into the kitchen and prepare a meal. Now, I understand before I came along, they would have like cupcakes or maybe some snacks and something to drink. But I would go in and actually prepare a full meal. And I believe I spoiled them to the point that I started making elaborate meals. Then we would have someone bring in desserts. And then one time somebody said, you know what, why don't we just get a caterer? But I just kept the cooking going. And we had it to the point where some people would actually come a little later, like when they thought the food was about ready, because we would serve after the meetings to make sure that people are there for what the reasons they should be. And then the food, you can smell the food in the background and people would get anxious. It is kind of funny. For the most part, the outside of the cooking and keeping the people happy and all that, we put on the various programs that were very, very, very exciting and very, very, very worthy. One of the programs that I'm very proud of that we put together is a health fair. we would host a health fair, I believe, every July. And me having a little bit of a healthcare background, meaning that I worked for a first aid and safety company for a lot of years, about maybe 15 years or so, I would bring in this large first aid cabinet. It was very large. And it had everything in there you could think of, from the bandages, eye wash, stuff for headache, stomach ache, you name it. But it was for workplaces, so that if the employee happened to feel a little sick or headache or something on the job, they could simply just go to the first aid cabinet and get what they need and get back to work. No, I'll be back. See you later. I got to go get a Band-Aid. No, it's one right there in the first aid kit, that type of thing. So we had that, and then we would have someone else to speak on, say, high blood pressure. We would have someone speak on, let's say, hypertension. We'd have somebody come in and speak on any kind of ailments that we probably have as human beings, and especially us as Black people. So we would have those kinds of things in our health fair. One of the things we included was therapy, like reflexology and massages and things like that. So anyway, the health fair was a real hit, and we would get a lot of people attending that because we had all those different speakers. And also, I say the health fair is one of our key. And then the tech fair. Our vice president in Division 49, Victor Betts, he is a phenomenal, I want to say, I'll just put it this way, with the computers. So he would put together our flyers. So our flyers are very colorful and they're gorgeous. He would do all of our flyers, all of the programs, but he wanted to have a tech fair to show some of the people in the organization, in the group, how to do these things. And so it was more of a how-to class. And then most of all, the seniors, showing them simple things on the computer, how to get on there, how to log on, so forth. So he would put the tech fair on every year, and it was really informative. So we have the tech fair. Then we'd have the Get Your Goombay, which was awesome, started by our sister Mary Bota. And it was actually started by her husband, Naira Bota, some years back. So we started having these programs, which would be similar to what we were talking about, Brother Blyden, where the children would dress up. They would be able to, the family could choose really who they wanted to be. So we had our little Malcolm X's and our Dr. Kings, but we also had people that were doing Shaka Zulu and Queen Nzinga and on and on. Every year we would have this, and it's just phenomenal to see the little children get up there and they say who they are and what they did as that person. I think a couple of years ago, we had a couple of young boys that were the Black Panthers. I believe they won. They knew their stuff because they actually had knowledge and they had the actions and so forth. One of them, and then I'll go into something else. We had with another an organization where we teamed up with them, and it was all set, getting ready to start. And there was a child in the audience that was not part of it. And he just simply asked, can I be part of the contest? So one of our members, Shaka Barak, took the young boy to the side. He didn't have a costume. He had no preparation, but they took a flag and draped it around him some type of way. And he was going to portray Marcus Garvey. This was on the spot. So the young boy got up there. He spoke so eloquently. It was unbelievable. He won the contest. He was someone who all these children had done all these practicing. And so this young man won the contest. He was so phenomenal. Excellent. So this was just some things about that. That's the thing that we want to do with this booklet here for get the young children involved. Then we have the Women's Day, the Men's Day. These is when we honor women and men from the community. So we would have people from school teachers, educators, entertainers, people from all walks of life. And we would choose maybe 8 or 10 of them, and we would honor, and we would have a lot of people come in because of course the people are inviting their families and on and on. Sometimes we would have to bring in more chairs. I mean, these were some awesome programs there. And then of course the Umoja Karamu, these around Thanksgiving time when everybody's doing that thing, we would have an Umoja breakfast or a dinner. And so these are some phenomenal things. We've had some people come through that speak to us. We had one that I like. It was kind of comical for me because this is just me. We had one about relationships. So we had several couples on a panel, and oh my goodness, the questions were some of them were really, what does it take to make a good marriage? How do you, what do you say if, to keep down an argument? What about finances, and on and on. And we had a psychologist. I believe this was Dr. Bunny Ford. Dr. Bunny Ford. And she would be the I want to say the orator, or the person to mediate between the couples, because it got a little exciting after a while, people having differences of opinion. So that was really good. So I thought we should move that on to relationships among families, more so than just the couples, because it was such a great program. So these programs, we instituted them in certain months of the year, so we would do them every year, and they would just get better and better. So the Vision 429, we've had some great programs. And then, of course, the things that we do outside, with knocking on doors and bringing people in. So we moved into the same building in the Marcus Garvey Center at 330 East 37th Street, which houses Division 401. So we collaborate a lot of times, and then we had certain days that Division 401, certain days Division 429. So right now with the pandemic, we're doing a lot of Zoom calls and so forth. So Division 429 is just awesome. So I want to say kudos to our president, Clyde Banks, and who introduced me to the UNIA, and I've just been there going strong ever since. So I'm very excited and very proud about that. Thank you, Clyde Banks.
Ashe.
And so as far as the ladies are concerned, what I did, because I told you that I got engrossed in reading about the ladies, and I've had the book, lost the book, had to go get me another 2 books from Sister Gwen, but I told myself I would commit to actually studying these ladies, which I had not done. So I went through and I just kind of highlighted some things among them. Was there someone, Sister Crystal, that I think you mentioned someone in there that stood out for you too? Feel free to elaborate.
I defer to you, to Lady President. I defer to you.
Yes, okay. Well, the first one that I saw in the book, Jacqueline Cheeks Blackburn, I just highlighted because, again, like I say, these women are phenomenal. If you look, there's pages and pages about them. So in the efforts of time, I just wanted to give a little synopsis on them. For Jacqueline Cheeks Blackburn, she was part of a real prominent group of Black nationalists already in the early 70s. And this helped to revitalize the Universal Negro Improvement Association, because when she was in Chicago, and her first meeting that she went to in January of 1971, she was with a group of friends and associates, and some of the members were searching for the UNIA, and they wanted to find out if it was still alive in Chicago. So of course they discovered at 4830 South Cottage Grove is where they kind of met up, and there was a lot of prominent names there. I'll just throw out a few of them. There was Mother Myers, Thelma Myers, of course, at that time. She's, writer, activist. Dr. Anderson Thompson, historian. Dr. Bobby Wright, a psychologist and mental health specialist. And Lorenzo Martin, an editor and publisher. So at this historic meeting, Jackie, that's what they call her, Jacqueline Cheeks Blackburn, but Jackie and her associates, they met the future President General, Honorable Charles L. James, and his wife, Estelle. So now this is how she got her start in the UNIA. And it goes on and on and on to talk about some things that she did, but her membership extended over a period of several decades. And this can be said for many of these ladies, even some that we have present day that's been in there 20, 30, 40 years. So I came in 2012, and I didn't really really learn what I was really doing for like 2 or 3 years after that. So to come in and then start to learn, it gets in your spirit, it gets in your soul. And that's when you can really speak from the heart. So my kudos is off to these ladies. Something on here I wanted to mention too. She was in the Air Force, and she served as a medic. And because of her natural compassion for the sick and disabled, Jackie chose a career in the health field after the service, and she became a nurse. So what happened? They were helping with the people that came from the service to help them with their ailments. So that's her, but I don't want to go spend too much time on her because it goes on and on. I'm going to skip a little bit. Oh my goodness, Henrietta Benton Davis. Now they got several pages on her. She was phenomenal. She was somewhat in her own right, very popular, very well known, very learned. But when she was born in Baltimore on August 25th of 1860 in Mansfield, and let me get her name right, to Mansfield Benton and Mary Ann Johnson Davis. All right. These are her mother and father. Her father was a pianist, and he died while she was very young. And her mother, which was Alexander Hackett, I already said her name, but she was one of the founders of the Chesapeake Marine Railway and Dry Dock Company, and the African-American owned shipbuilding company that opened from 1855 to 1873. So it goes on to talk about her stepfather and her family, and they were school teachers. But I wanted to skip on down where it says, in April 25th in 1883, Frederick Douglass introduced Davis in her debut at Marina's Hall. For nearly 40 years, she performed professionally as an inclusionist, Shakespearean actor, and dramatic reader. Now, when I read about these ladies, some of them was in acting and drama. Some of them were real hardcore, activists. Some of them were poets. Some of them was just committed workers, people who who were in the back of the scenes, helping to get things done. And maybe you didn't even know who they were, and then somehow somebody recognized them. So when I read these ladies, sometimes it touches you because you can find a bit of yourself in these ladies. I'm speaking to the ladies, obviously. And that's what happens in here, because, with me trying to do, singing and some of those things, I see myself in some of these areas. Here's one little area here. In 1932, she broke with Garvey and became the first assistant president general of a rival UNIA in 1934 convention. So now that's another story. I don't want to go down that hill, but I expect people to get this book because it's phenomenal. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I mean, I'll be reading the whole thing or trying to learn it at least. Madam Mamie Leona Turpoo, Demina. Now, I read more of hers. She was very, I would say, how I want to put it, dramatic in her stance, in the way she presented herself. I mean, it was like she was a queen walking day in and day out with the way she held herself and held her head up and so forth. When I read this, I just pictured her in this awesome, stance, wearing the garb and all this. But because it talks in here about how she really stood out when there was a big, I'll just read it to you, because there's a large parade, and they were getting ready to crown the king, Queen Victoria. So what happened, Madam Mamie Leona, she came out and she led the African Motor Corps. And the way she did it, there were the marching bands and singing choirs and scores of juvenile units, elaborately decorated, and floats riding high. and all the officials around the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey riding in an open car, draped in red, black, and green attire, in a flowing scarlet robe and cocked hats decorated with white and red plums, bringing up the crowd of spectators rivaling. You see what I'm saying? I'm just getting into the awesomeness of how this was.
Yes, preach.
So when I was looking at it, I'm picturing how this was, and you can hear the pomp and the circumstance of it all, So she was, they called her, they said that, I'll put it this way, they said they were overwhelmed by her magnificence in this spectacular, elaborate, almost theatrical display, secured Madame Demena's place among the greatest, grandest Garveyites of the 20th century. So that was awesome. And it goes on and on. There's pages and pages and pages of this. Get the books, ladies and gentlemen, get the book.
Can you hold it up real close? Hold it real close to the screen one more time so people can see it. Yes. The Women of the UNIA, Our Ancestors, written again by Mother Gwendolyn Martin and Secretary General Brenda Amalcon and Mother Myers. I see there.
And as you can see, the book is so rich with information, and I just touched on some things. It would do great to have something like we talk with the children, but I would go as far as the adults.
Yes.
I was on with there's a lady, her and her husband are both ministers, and they did something this past October, and they asked me to be on. I picked Billie Holiday because I like to sing and I like the little style with the flower and all that. And they had something on Zoom, and you had to pick just like what we're talking. But these were historians. One guy was Jesse Jackson. There was a lady, she was a singer, one of the singer stars on television. I was Billie Holiday. There was somebody that was Gwendolyn Brooks, and on. It was about maybe 10, 15 people on there. And they did similar to what you're talking about, and they got on and presented. They did more than just, but it was an hour show. So everybody had a certain amount of time to present themselves. And you really, some of these ladies I learned about by watching that. So this is awesome, because a lot of times people get the book, like I did, I'm going to read it and put it aside until something comes up. But that's another good way of getting it information disseminated when people are acting and portraying. And that's something I would truly like to be involved with.
Exactly. I love that idea too, because that gives them a chance to have to study a script and then go into costuming and things like that. Mm-hmm. So just what you would have to do to study for your part to play a role in that would be some good things. And when we talk about what Marcus Garvey taught, well, no, let's take it away from Garvey because this is the women's show. When we talk about what Amy J. Garvey taught about education, making sure our children know about their history. And that's why this show is so important as an organ for our government for moments like this, when we have you here, Sister Lady President, telling your story, because you are, like you said, one of those warrior queens that people are going to be reading about in the future. And they need to know about the strength of Division 429. Ashe. So we thank you for that presentation. If we were live in person, I'm sure the crowd will be standing ovation right now. So I just want to say thank you again for that. But just as a little looking back on what you were saying, as far as taking the leadership role, the women of the UNIA had leadership roles across the board when we talk about the history and all those millions of members. And when you look up the history through newspaper records, you find that not only were there just large conventions and meetings of the UNIA, but there was also very specific meetings that were called the ladies division, or the ladies division would have women's meetings and women's events, specifically to teach our young girls about Black nationalism from a women's perspective. And I was just getting into a conversation with someone the other day, like, where would our movement be? Where would our people be without our women? And I told the person, my response would simply be nowhere. We wouldn't even be here right now if we didn't have our women. on board. So thank you so much again, Lady President, for all that you do and all that you planning on doing, because I can see the fire in your eye.
Yes, I thank you. And I think not enough service has been done to this great book, because these three ladies that put it together, wow, did they really put it together. So by taking it to another level, like you suggested earlier, I think would do real good justice to not only the history for these ancestors, but a great for us to get connected with them, because right now it's a book on somebody's shelf, but
right.
We'll bring it to life by opening it up and
making a movie.
We'll
make a movie
about it and presenting it. Yes, absolutely.
Let's make a full-fledged movie, feature film length, and then put it out there so the people know. And see, I don't know, we're gonna have to get those ladies to come on as guests. I'm not sure if we're gonna get them. You know, now that they wrote that book, they might be a little Hollywood on us. It'll be hard to get them. We got to talk to their agents to see if we can book them for the next show. Okay, so moving forward in the show, thank you again, Lady President. We do appreciate everything that you've done and appreciate your presentation. I would like to bring in our next guest. Again, dealing with leadership and women having leadership roles. This is our Assistant Secretary General, Sister Crystal Jackson. Please, please, please. I know you got some notes that you wanted to speak on from Lady President's presentation, but please give us some history that you are aware of and you want the people to know. And I'm not sure what's happening with the screen. Okay, there we go.
Greetings.
Race
first. I just wanted to say thank you again for having us, having me. Thank you to Sister Georgia, Lady President Georgia. That was beautiful, that presentation you did. And you can tell she has that fire, right? And that's beautiful. That's wonderful. I just want to say that, you know, a lot of times we don't necessarily take out the time to point out the sisters, because one thing you'll find with the majority of women, not all women, because all women are different, you know, let's be clear, but with a lot of women, sometimes we just do what needs to be done because it needs to be done, you know, and it's not like we're putting ourselves out in front and saying, hey, I want credit. Hey, give me credit. Hey, look at me. Look at what I'm doing. It's like, oh, that needs to be taken care of. Okay, I'll take care of that. You know, maybe we're on the phone with our members saying, how's your family? You know, and we're doing something one-on-one with our division members to make sure that everyone is taken care of. And we're not looking for the praise and the applaud, you know, for those things. And so sometimes our stories are not necessarily out there as much, but they're happening. And kind of like what you mentioned, like the organization definitely has made progress because we're working together. You know, it's not just male, it's not just female, it's the combination. It's the combination that's making it work. And so with that in mind, like, I don't mind talking about Marcus Garvey for a moment, because he is the founder of the UNIAACL, right? And so he kind of set the tone for certain things. And, you know, if we talk about him, one of the things that we might not talk about as often is the fact that he was a poet. You know, yes, he gave lectures and speeches, and, you know, he created one of the greatest mass movements of Black people ever. That's true. All of that's true. But the thing that sometimes we don't realize is that he's also a poet. For instance, he wrote The Black Woman by Marcus Garvey. Black queen of beauty, thou hast given color to the world. Among other women, thou art royal and the fairest. Like the brightest jewels in the regal diadem, shinest thou, goddess of Africa, nature's purest emblem. Black men worship thy virginal shrine of truest love, because in thine eyes are virtue's steady and holy mark, as we see in no other, clothed in silk or fine linen, from ancient Venus, the goddess, to mythical Helen. Superior angels look like you in heaven above, for thou art fairest, queen of the seasons, queen of our love. No condition shall make us ever in life desert thee, sweet goddess of the evergreen land and placid blue sea. Hello.
Sir, salute the general, huh?
You know, right? So he had a perception of women, of Black women. He had a perception of Black women that definitely shaped and informed the perception of the members of the UNIA, right? And so sometimes we talk about the history of the UNIA and how women have had positions of authority and power, right? Sister Georgia, Lady President Georgia mentioned Henrietta Benton Davis. She served as 4th Assistant President General. She was in a leadership position. So the UNIA never looked at women in a way that they couldn't lead, that they were incapable of doing certain things. Like that was never their thoughts, And we also know that our founder, the President General, Marcus Garvey, loved women because he picked right, He founded the UNIACL with Amy Ashwood Garvey. And he also married later Amy Jocks Garvey. And both of these women were powerhouse women, to find an to help found and build an organization. And later on, even when she was overseas in other countries, she started other organizations as well on behalf of Africans. That's Amy Ashwood Garvey. A lot of the things that we know about Marcus Garvey today is thanks to Amy Jocks Garvey. Yes. Because she but she compiled his writings, his letters, his lectures. And, we have the Philosophy and Opinions by Marcus Garvey. We have Race First. And Tony Martin, who's the author, he consulted with her quite a bit, And even I know that she also served as editor of the Negro World. Was it the Negro World magazine? So the women are very, very powerful, very, very powerful women. And they are definitely much to be lauded and praised. So we have Amy Jocks Garvey, a photo of her here in the center. We have Amy Ashwood Garvey over here on the right. We also have Mother Estelle James. Mother Estelle James, she, and going back to this publication, because this publication is great. Lady President Georgia mentioned a lot of it already. But Mama Estelle James, she became acquainted with the UNIA at 10 years of age and continued with this great organization the remainder of her life. Right. As the UNIA grew and deepened in the hearts and minds of African people, so did it in Estelle. She said, I became inundated with work and worth I saw being promulgated by the philosophy and opinions of Mr. Garvey, founder thereof. I listened and learned how to speak up and state my opinions as deemed necessary. I wrote letters for Mr. Garvey and was appointed executive secretary. She said she never gave up on the organization. Too often, she spoke of the time when Mr. Garvey was being shipped to Jamaica from New Orleans. She said, I can remember the day, the week, the month, the weather conditions as the ship put out to sea. Later on, she married the Honorable Charles L. James, who became President General of the UNIA when Thomas W. Harvey passed. And she put on her prettiest smile as she was quickly given a title First Lady. That's how it's written here. But she had some favorite sayings like, God and Garvey are good enough for me. And to God be the glory. The latter could be seen on the back of any correspondence that she mailed. May the red, black, and green keep you waving into infinity on the wings of the wind. I thought that was beautiful, so I just wanted to add that point too. But that's Mama Mary Estelle James. And then, Henrietta Benton Davis, here's a photo of her. I won't get into too many more details because Sister Georgia covered that plenty. But very, very powerful, powerful women. Here are some women coming closer to DC, coming closer to home, women that we look up to, we emulate, we love, we honor. We can see that here in the top left corner, this is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing is the author of the ISIS papers, psychologist. She is an ancestor, but she had such a powerful impact on the community, on our people, because she basically has the theory of why racism, white supremacy exists, and she did a lot of work with Mr. Neely Fuller, who is the author of what we call the code, the compensatory code, but powerhouse, who whenever the UNIA had events, like she would speak, and it was no problem. And right below her picture is her sister, You know, her sister, Lauren Crest Love, you know, not too many people who are in this area hear her name as often. They're both from Chicago. They both came from Chicago. But Lauren Crest Love, she founded a school in Chicago. She came to D.C. and she helped found a radio station, WPFW, which is a station that's working even today, you know. And the women, like I said before, we do things because it needs to be done. And sometimes we're not looking for the praise. We're not looking for the applause. But these are some admirable things, you know. How about Nanny Helen Burroughs? In DC, she's known for, you know, starting a school for girls. That was one of her missions, and that's what she did. That's what she carried out. Even, let's see, we even have Dorothy Height. Yeah, that's the photo. Dorothy Height right here, who, you know, a powerhouse in politics in the DC area. Even the presidents would invite her to, you know, the White House because of her involvement with things that were happening in DC. So she's listed. Anyway, here's another powerhouse.
Oh, yes.
Another powerhouse. This is Mother Moore. This is Queen Mother Moore.
Wow.
And, you know, there's a little clip. This is a clip. So I think I can play it, maybe. Let's see what this will do for me. Verify, skip this verification. Let's see if we can play it. Okay, you're coming over here. I'm gonna bring it over because we're gonna listen to her a little bit. Because I mean, looking at her, you know, she looks like she might bake some real good cookies. You know, she has the mischievous grandma look, right? You might not want to mess with Queen Mother Moore. Let's hear what she has to say. Let me see. It's taking a little bit of time. Okay, you're coming. I might have to, let's see.
Where did this take place?
In New Orleans.
Oh, okay.
From New Orleans.
Yeah.
I understand. Okay. And then you also.
Apologies. Let's get this. Okay.
The work of Marcus Garvey.
Yes.
Tell us first something about Marcus Garvey.
Well, I was first brought into the Marcus Garvey movement by the fact that I understood that he was to come and speak to us in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And we went to the meeting, and lo and behold, he didn't come. And we heard that the mayor refused to allow him to come. So we were very incensed about it and got a delegation to go see why. And then it was guaranteed that Marcus Garvey would come the next night. And the hall was packed with people. And everybody went with ammunition.
They had guns?
They had guns. Everybody had guns. Blue steel Smith & Wessons, German Lugers. We had plenty German Lugers because, you know, the war had spoils from the war and everything. Okay. And I had 2 guns with me. And we all had guns and ammunition, a bag of ammunition. Everybody had what you call a suitcase today. We used to call satchels.
What was all this?
Ammunition.
Why were you so armed?
Because we was afraid the police would stop him from coming again. Okay. And we wanted to protect him. And so we went. 3,500 people was in that hall. And so when Garvey came, we applauded very much. And he said, "My friends, I want to apologize for not speaking to you last night. But the reason I didn't speak to you is because the mayor permitted himself to be used as a stooge by the police department to prevent me from speaking to you." And when he said that, the police jumped up and said, "I'll run you in." And when the police did that, everybody jumped up on the benches. We had benches then. and took out their guns straight up. The guns were straight up in the air. Speak, all this speak. And
Wow.
and as I was saying, and he went and repeated himself. And the police filed out of there like little puppy dogs with their little tails between their legs. Every police.
Okay, after which I understand you
All right.
started a chapter of his.
So I'm going to stop it there. You can see the whole program for yourself. I'm going to put a link of it in the chat. But yeah, don't mess with Queen Audley Moore. That's with her, you know. But it just goes to show that the women make up the large army. Like, we are a large army. Sometimes we forget, you know, where we are. We think, oh, we're a minority. Oh, we're a minority. Can you check the African continent? You know, can you check Brazil? You know, can you check everywhere else that we are in the diaspora? You know, we're not a minority. And so, you know, that's a mentality and thinking that's part of the programming that we've received that definitely we need to get rid of and let go. Here is a photo of the Woodson Banneker Jackson Bay Division 330. It's a postcard that we created. Some of these sisters, like right here in this corner right here, this is when the division basically performed a ritual similar to what we did for Marcus Garvey Jr. for one of our former members, Brother Ted Robinson. And this is Sister Lorene Butler. We call her Queen Lorene Smith Butler. And actually, we need to kind of give her a shout out because she just had a birthday on January the 8th. Yes, she had a solar return, Earth Day, natal return. Yes, she just had that on January the 8th. And so, let me disconnect that so I'll stop making that noise. And then down here, we also have Sister Kim Bay. We have Sister Nefertari. I'm in here somewhere, a couple of places, maybe. We have another sister who does a lot of traveling, who I want to give a nod to. But and then also within these are folks that are in our division, but we have a lot of folks in DC, women in DC, that I just kind of want to shout out and acknowledge, like Dr. Nana Shishebe. Denise Rolock Barnes, who is the editor of the Washington Informer. We gave her an award. Mama Ayo Handy Kendi, who is the founder of Black Love Day, which is February 13th. She also did the libations for our Kwanzaa program. She is a breath seku, a breathologist, and she's definitely invested in the health and wellness of our people. There's Mama Nia Kaumba, Thomasina Yearwood. So Division 330 meets at the Thurgood Marshall Center. And that is courtesy of Thomasina Yearwood, who is the president of the Thurgood Marshall Center Trust. There's Abena Makini Nili Waimbi Ini Wausu. It's a mouthful. It's a beautiful name. There's also Nana Farika Berhane. Nkechi Taifa, who is an attorney. She just recently released a publication, Black Lawyer, Black Power, Black Lawyer. And it's her story. And, you know, she's been part of several groups, and she definitely represents our people, especially political prisoners of war. Free the land, free the land. So Nana Malaya Rucker, Opera Bea, Aziza Claudia Gibson Hunter, J.U. Umoja, who is very a creative in DC. She's modeled, she's performed, lots of beautiful creative work from J.U. Umoja. There's also Lucy Murphy, who's contributed to a lot of community service in the area, as well as she's a performer. There's Mama Paula Coleman and Mama Tendai, or Paula Johnson of Adasi. Now, the thing is that when I talk about how we do things and we just do it and we don't seek credit. We wanted to give them individual awards, and they were like, no, give the award to Adasi, which is the organization that they do work for. And what they do is they prepare altars, ancestral altars for various functions and organizations. And so that just kind of goes back to the spirit of what a lot of women have. There's also Kim Bay, who's a poet, a performer, artist, fashion designer, radio personality on WPFW 89.3. There's Mama Hasanatu Kamara, and she's an ancestor, but she, like, part of her story is that she attended Federal City College. She majored in philosophy and later studied library science. Mama was an African-centered educator who instilled the value of knowing thyself in her 4 biological children, as well as her students. Mama was a cultural artist, painter, mentor, and librarian. She taught and encouraged her students to express themselves through film, writing, and performing. In her own words, she used media for liberation. Film is the most important art because it includes all of the art forms. Mama Hasanatu utilized film by transforming classrooms and libraries into media centers. She is truly honored, respected, and loved by hundreds of students that she taught and mentored. Mama Hasanatu was dedicated to the race redemption and Pan-Africanism. She truly loved her people. She and Kwame Ture joined the All-African People's Revolutionary Party in the late 1970s and continued to be active in the organization throughout her life. She also joined the Universal Negro Improvement Association African Communities League, Woodson, Banneker, Jackson Bay Division 330 in May of 2017. In 1994, the groundbreaking film Sankofa by Haile Gerima changed her life forever. Excuse me. Mama played the role of Juma, the field slave who put the gun on the slave master. She was so proud of her role in that movie. Mama Hasanatu traveled to many places in the world, including Jamaica, Guinea, Senegal, Ghana, Brazil, Trinidad, and Cuba. Mama Hasanatu leaves a legacy for so many to follow. And this is a photo of her, Mama Hasanatu, in the DC area, one of our ancestors who was a member of Division 330. But there are so many others. Sabrina Johnson, who picked up the torch and continued the legacy of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She is the director of the Welsing Institute and continues that legacy on her behalf. There's also Sister Abena Walker, Dr. Lydia Akila Karima McDaniel, another one of our ancestors, beautiful, beautiful, accomplished sister. Wadija Deborah Joyner, she was an executive secretary for Division 330. And many, many countless others. And what I did is I wanted to mention, yes, our ancestors, but I also wanted to mention some of the sisters that are alive today, because one of the things that my grandma always taught me is give me my flowers while I'm living, and so sometimes it's good to take note of these women even now and just let them know how much we love and appreciate them and what they do. Here's a list of other women. I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm not sure I have that much time. But I will mention a lot of the women over here in this first column are in that publication that Lady President Georgia and I have mentioned today, that was published and written by Sister Gwen Martin, Brenda Moakan, who is our Secretary General, and Mama T.M. Myers. And over here, we also, sometimes we start at enslavement, and those are the women that we start to look at, right? But our history is so vast and so long, and we can look at the Candaces or Kandakis, however you want to pronounce it, Ya Asante Wa, Mary Mathoni Yanjiru, Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells was also a contemporary of Garvey, and Queen Nanny, Queen Nanny and the Maroons, the three queens of the Virgin Islands, Sarunia, the Panther Queen, Gloria Richardson, Nanny Prosser, Sherry Turner, Cecil Feynman, Mbuya Nahanda, Empress Taitu, Madam C.J. Walker, who actually, even in the early stages, Marcus Garvey met at her house a few times. She would host events at her house. We know her as the first millionaire who sold black hair care products, almost like before Avon did it that way. She was the Avon lady, kind of. Actually, she set the precedent. Let me be clear. But yeah, she was heavily involved in the movement. Rosa Parks, Carrie Bass, Magdalena Walker, Queen Nzinga. We have so many women. As a woman, I have so many women who have preceded me that I can look up to. I have women that are examples in my daily life. You know, I sit at the feet of elders, men and women, because to me, they have the blueprint, they have the black print, they have the experience, you know, and that's what we need to do. And we need to acknowledge what they do. So those are the few things that I just kind of wanted to point out and mention. Also let you know that the Woodson Banneker Jackson Bay Division 330, we're located in Washington, D.C. And we're actually going to have a program on women. We're going to have a women's program on March the 7th of this year. It's probably most likely going to be virtual. It's probably going to be a virtual program. We'll make sure that folks get that information. And we can go into a few more details, but I'm going to leave you in the words of Mary McLeod Bethune. She says, I leave you love, I leave you hope, I leave you the challenge of developing confidence in one another. I leave you a thirst for education. I leave you a respect for the use of power. I leave you faith. I leave you racial dignity. I leave you a desire to live harmoniously with your fellow men. I leave you finally a responsibility to our young people. Mary McLeod Bethune was an educator, a powerhouse woman in her own right. The struggle continues, and that is my presentation.
Ashe.
Wow.
That was awesome.
Awesome. Yes.
Wow. I almost don't even know what to say.
I'm telling you, this is just wonderful. I just feel so good. It's uplifting.
Right? Let's get it. So one thing that I always say is there is no better mission for the African people than the unification and upliftment for our race, to build something and to preserve and protect it. So when you played that thing about Queen Mother Moore talking about making sure that they have committed their body, minds, and spirits to the defense, protection, and security of the epitome of the red, black, and green, this is what we need to be emulating. Lady President Georgia, when you were talking about Madame Demina and the extravagance, I don't even know if you realized while you were watching that, you was just emulating that, like you just exuding that aura when you were talking about it. This is what I'm talking about, people. We have to come back home. We have to make sure that we rebuild these things and honor those that's doing the work right now. What you say to give the flowers now? Just like what I'm about to say, we got to make sure that we clarify a thing. You made one misstep with your beautiful presentation there, Sister Secretary General. We forgot to mention that it is the official Woodson Banneker Bay Division 330. Official. Now, if anybody has any questions about anything that you've seen or heard on this program, please feel free to contact the Ministry of Information of the Pan-African Government of the World, the UNIA-ACL. Overstand, we are serious about our warrior queens, and we appreciate that presentation. If you don't even know, we sitting over here watching it like it's a movie. Almost forgot. I'm gonna have to have some questions and some statements afterwards. I'm waiting for the credits to roll. Okay, so I just wanted to say, did anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? I see we have a couple people in our illustrious chat room over there. Does anybody have any questions? You can type it in, or you can unmute yourself and ask. Please be respectful if someone else is speaking, and we will open up that to you now.
Peace and love, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Race first. I am the secretary of the division here in Buffalo 433. I must say it is an honor to be amongst you women here and a part of the UNIA and see all of the work that's being done, that has been done. This book right here, fortunately, just has been brought to my knowledge by President Blyden over here. So this is awesome. I started reading it just today. So it's great to see how we can also have our women stand strong side by side against our men, because every strong Black man has a strong Black woman standing next to them. And it was Lion, almost like you, President Georgia, who brought me into the UNIA. And it wasn't until I got into the UNIA that I realized the seriousness of our people and our race, and how important it is that we, like our pledge states, commit our mind, body, and soul to the liberation of our race. And so every day that I wake up, I try to do that. And it's great to see you women doing that. It's great to see our ancestors in the past and all of what they've done for us. Being a young person, especially, I hope to try to reach my generation, because it's important too that my generation take on that baton, so that we're not, repeating history, that we can set that foundation for our futures generations to come. And in that way, they already are on that solid foundation, and they can build on top of that and pass it on to their generation, so on and so forth. So I am very humbled to be amongst you ladies, and it's an honor to see the joy just hearing you speak right now, President General Ms. Georgia, and Secretary General Crystal Banks. Oh my goodness, I don't even know. I don't know what to say to follow up. Besides, wow, you guys are awesome. It's a pleasure. I don't think you guys realize the history that's being made, and for me to just see it is something very, very dear to my heart. And I just hope that I can follow in the footsteps of my ancestors and you ladies and do half of what you guys are doing right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Is there something, Queen Cheetah, that you could speak on that you guys are doing in Buffalo? I know Sister Sophia Blyden, Lady President, is in Jamaica now with a family emergency, honoring Mother Pearlie. So is there something that you guys are doing here in Buffalo that you can speak on?
Oh, yes, of course. First, let me say ashe to my grandmother, Miss Pearlie. She passed last week, Saturday. So unfortunately, Lady President Sophia is in Jamaica right now for the funeral with family. So ashe to the ancestor. We have started, before the pandemic even started, we were doing the hand sanitizers, the Black Cross nurses hand sanitizers. I actually have one sitting right in front of me. Hold on, I'll turn my camera on so you guys can see it. Not me. Forgive me, guys. Hold on. So if you see here, we have these hand sanitizers that we were doing. And we also started this study guide here for the UNIA Black Cross Nurses Division 433. And it goes into just tips on diabetes, CPR, allergic reactions, even like with diabetes, if they're going to hyperglycemia, things that you need to know to do. So it's very informational as far as health concerns, because as we know, what's one of the main concerns in our community is health. The top biggest disease that we battle is heart disease. So we start that initiative, as well as food packages, just delivering to our elderly, especially when the pandemic hit, people that couldn't get out to the, grocery stores and things of that nature. We made sure we were able to get them the essentials that they needed. We did the the Path of the Panther breakfast for quite some time. That was one of my favorites, I believe, of all of the things that we have done here in Buffalo. That was the most one that I love the most. We were able to feed the community, our elders, our children, just come together. When we look at past history and the things that Garvey and just the Garveyites, because we just don't want to put it all on Garvey. We want to recognize all of the Garveyites and all of what each and every one of them did and contributed to the liberation of us as a whole. And we need to get back to that, Sankofa. And so the things that we do here in our division, we always make sure as Garveyites in the UNIA to go back and go fetch and bring forward. And it's actually funny, it's an artist name by the name of Gopel, if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. I'll type the name in the chat. But it means in Swahili to move forward. And her father was from Africa. I forget which part. But that's what her name means. And it was funny that I came across her name because it's like, okay, now here we are, that my generation, we need to move forward. And what are we doing to move forward and to set the way for our children? And so with those initiatives, I hope that we can make sure that we're leading by example at all times. So we have that for our youth, and that can be economics, for the UNIA. We not only are we supporting our community, it's also teaching economic literacy as well.
Ashe. Sounds like you must have an awesome president in that division right there, huh?
I must say I have to give thanks to my president, Biden. If it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't have been into the UNIA. And it's a great thing. It is an honor, because who was teaching about Garvey before this? As far as I know, here in Buffalo, nobody. And it is sad because we know the history right here in Buffalo. But again, we will have more. And how we get into those moments where it can be frustrating to see, are we progressing or are we not progressing, or what are we doing to progress, or and all of that nature. But you are leading by an example. I'm hearing you and seeing you. It don't seem like it, maybe possibly sometimes, but I do see you, and I do take heed to what you tell me. And so I am humbled enough to be a part of a great government as such. Race first.
Race first.
Race first.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. Sister Cheetah, she...
Oh, yes, go ahead, Matt. Yeah.
Yes, you touched on a few things, and it inspired me to just respond. First of all, I am just enamored over that booklet you just showed. So I'd like to try to get my hands on a copy.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes, Sister Bathsheba was here. I want to say it was over, maybe going into the second year. We had a little panel of women talking about similar to what we're doing now, Women of the UNIA. Actually, we used the book, The Women of UNIA. And we were assigned, each one of us was assigned to one woman to elaborate on. I believe I had Estelle James back then. But when you showed that book, she left me with this booklet. And
okay, I'm gonna have to get my hands on that one.
Yeah, and I was the only one that had a copy of this. And she just said, do what you want, will with it, sister. So when I got it, I got home and I perused through it and I put it in my bookcase, and oh my God, it's got a thing. So I couldn't find it for a long time. So Sister Tanaya Scott over at Division 401 wanted a copy. Oh my God. I looked in everything. I just thought I would. So long story short, one day, I even prayed. I prayed to find this. It was stuck between some books.
Wow.
In the bookcase, because I'm looking at everything else. But long story short, she and I and her first assistant, Lady President Shavana. Let me get Shavana's last name in a minute. The three of us had been meeting, like in a social distance situation. The three of us, so we kind of spread out, and we've been kind of going through the booklet to kind of see some things, make sure some things that we are doing or not doing, and kind of get on track with some things we should probably be doing that's recommended in here. And we were going to do a little Q&A with Sister Beshima just to kind of get some direction, make sure we're, although some of the things we're already doing, like you say, in the healthcare projects that we're doing. I know they're over in 4-1, they're doing some things with masks, passing out. They're doing some food giveaways. There's a bunch of little things that we're already doing. It's not necessarily structured one by one, like in this booklet. But yeah, absolutely. I'll make sure you get one of those and I'll get one of those you have.
Oh, yes, we could definitely exchange because it's definitely great. And I think that we all want, it should be that every division has this and that, all of the members have access to this information. We know why, the Black Cross nurses were created initially in the first place because of the Red Cross not treating our soldiers. So it's only going to be us that's going to take care of us.
Right.
And, it's definitely good that all of our divisions have this. And to that point, sorry, not to cut your wisdom, Mother, but with all of this, as far as all of our different divisions internationally, we are a government, and it is imperative that each one of us understand and emulate that as such, as a government citizen. We see other nations do that when it's time, especially when it's time to call for them to come. When that call comes, they come and they get unified and they get in uniform, in unison. And we as Garveyites, I think especially, need to, and I'm not saying us, I'm just speaking in general when I say that, but remember that this is a government. And, my president does remind me that when I go out, especially out in public, I have to remember that I am representing the UNIA ACL government. It's not an organization. It's not a social club, but a government. Mm-hmm. And so I have to act as such. And when they see all of us, all of the divisions on one accord, the same page, saying the same exact thing, no matter where you see a Garveyite and you ask them anything about Garveyism or where they can find their closest division, it should be just like you can recite your favorite song on the radio. It should be just like that at a snap of a finger. So, like Garvey said, if it takes 100 more years, then it takes 100 more years. But this is our government, and I don't want to see it die off because of the lack of effort. Us right now.
Well, with that was well said. And you know what? Let me just say to what's happening right now, people sharing information back and forth during the Spanish flu, mind you. The ladies getting together. I was just at a meeting this morning of our local Black Wall Street 716. And I remind those brothers and sisters that, the original Black Wall Streets were Garveyites. Those were the Garveyites that formed the divisions later in 1920. So self-defense, protection, security is why they were able to even defend those areas as well as they did, despite the things that ended up occurring. Again, the Spanish flu, the response to that, knowing our people were sick and they weren't getting the proper response here and over there. You know what I mean? We, the Black Cross nurses provided supplies even to the troops during the Ethio-Italian War. Ashe. So when Sister Crystal puts up that list of women, and specifically the Garveyite women, when they got to those conventions, they would do what y'all two just did just now, shared each other's books. Like, what do y'all tell y'all people in your division? Well, if you burn sage in the morning time, you don't have congestion in the evening or something, whatever. And it's like, oh, word? Okay, so we're going to take that to our division. The next person takes their thing with the turmeric and how that helps, and takes the, whatever things are working for our people in your area, you share it to the other people. And that's how we ended up being great.
Mhm.
And when she say Sankofa, if we talking about working,
Mhm.
what other work is there if we not trying to gain knowledge from our past so we can have a great future? So with that, Sister Crystal, did you have any closing remarks before we end the show?
No, no closing remarks. I think everyone covered the information remarkably well. Thank you again.
Of course. Thank you, actually. We definitely appreciate you and your leadership in the administration, and your work that you do on the various committees that without such, we would not be in such a good position. So we appreciate you for all of the behind the scenes work that you do, Sister Assistant Secretary General. Um, Sister Lady President, Georgia, is there anything that you wanted to say before we close out?
Well, I would like to just say something really quickly about the Ethiopian national anthem. We made a cover. Actually, I think Clyde texted to you and to me a picture of the cover, and it's all the information is on the cover, how it was written, how it came about in the first convention back in 1920 when they came out with the Declarations of Rights, and how the red, black, and green flag, I believe, was number 40 or something like that. And then I believe the anthem was right behind it, where we dedicated the Universal National Anthem as our anthem. So all these things culminated around that time in 1920. So the anthem, what happened in our division, there was a gentleman, a member named Maceo. So Maceo Thomas, he's got a voice. Oh gosh, he's got one of those, whoa, you know. So he would sing it. And so one day I was talking to him, and we started to add a female voice to it. So he and I started singing it together to close out meetings. And then we became a little popular. And so we went to the studio, and Clyde got involved, and our treasurer, who had a studio, our treasurer, Dr. Robert Scott. So we put together a CD with the music, and I believe you have a copy. So I was gonna maybe sing one little verse as we close out. Oh, there it is. Yes, that's the actual inside of the cover.
Well, see, this is why Assistant Secretary General Crystal is so serious. She sent this to me hours ago.
She is awesome. I love her. Well, then I'll make it to find a cover somewhere, somehow, somewhere. Because I know they got it on the computers, because they had it to make the covers. So, all right then.
So, wait, let me give you an introduction there. So, ladies and gentlemen, President Georgia from Division 429, Ethiopia, land of our father.
Thank you. Feel free to join in, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Ethiopia, the land of our fathers, the land where the gods love to be. Well, storm clouds at night suddenly gathers, our armies come marching to thee. We must in the fight be victorious, when swords are thrust onward to gleam. For us may the victory be glorious, when led by the red, black, and green. Advance, advance to victory, let Africa be free. Advance to meet the foe. Advance to meet the foe with the might of the red, the black, and the green.
Yes, 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 yes.
Woo!
Ashe, race first.
Woo! Race first.
Race first. One God,
One God,
one aim,
one
Yay.
one destiny.
One
Destiny.
Ashe. Well, we can't even do no better than that for an ending for a show. So with that, people, I would like to close the show again. Like we sort of just did it, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it again in the words of our illustrious ancestors and our current warrior kings and queens. We say one God,
God.
one aim,
One aim.
and one destiny.
One destiny.
And of course, race first, all the time.
all the time, and all the time, race first.
Ashe.
Race first, 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 race first. In the spirit of Marcus Garvey, one God, one aim, and one destiny. We're trying to live heavily. Power to the people that's meant for us especially. Support black businesses, utilize your specialty. I love my brothers and sisters, there's no confusion. You want equality, ownership is revolution. Look at our flag, let me explain what it means. In the essence of God, which is the supreme being. The red is for the blood of which our ancestors shed, for us to be free and also moving ahead. The black is for the skin we possess as melanin. As God's chosen people, just look at the evidence. The green is for the land in which our people reside. All over the planet, which includes like Kelbulon. I embrace first, and there is no looking back. Because I love my people, and that's the actual fact. Race first, 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 race first.